next to me, Diane, is the president of BookTrust. She's the head of the renowned British BookTrust, who for over 30 years has been running and BookTrust, together with the American organization Reach Out and Read, are the best examples of organizations that work with parents with very young children. They work with those parents and their children more. Well, Diana, the floor is yours. You can tell it best.
Thank you very much, Maria. It's a great pleasure to be here today. I'm delighted to be talking about an early development perspective on building resilient brains for citizens. And can I apologize to our translators, because I am very bad at sticking to the script that I have. So in advance, if you don't get quite the Polish version, that's my fault and not the fault of our wonderful organizers here today. I'm going to speak in plain English, or possibly in plain Polish, about why reading to our children from when they are babies and very little, from when they are toddlers, can make such a difference to creating resilient citizens, and why you should care about it. And really what I'm speaking about, and I actually want to share a book, because this is partly why we're here, is why a book like this might make a difference to all the problems and worries and challenges we've been talking about this morning. I was reflecting about why this matters to everyone here. I'm going to talk today mainly about the benefits of reading in the early years from the earliest age. But there's also a second reason, that if we want to create resilient citizens and those who read from who are readers, actually investing in the early years, as someone spoke today, I think this morning, can make a very, very big difference, and it's very low cost. And also for all of us, as we think about our reading practice, and if we are a business, we think about our staff, we are all, when we go home, many of us are parents, we are grandparents, we are aunts, we are uncles, we are friends, and most of us can remember from when we were little what it feels like to have a book read to us. Very briefly, who I am and who we are as BookTrust. We're the UK's largest reading charity. We reach well over 1 million families a year in the UK, and we reach 90% of new babies with a program called BookStart, very similar to one in Poland. We also work very extensively with our European neighbours, and we support a global network of reading organisations for children under 5, which reaches 15 million children a year through those organisations. We just do a bit to help them and share practice. So that is reading from Peru to Japan, to Korea, to Canada, to Tanzania, to Sarawak in Malaysia. And we all have many of the problems we've been talking about today. And because I only have 15 minutes, and I know we're already behind schedule, I'm not going to talk in detail about this, but I think our message is that we are an evidence-informed organization thinking about how we make practice change on the ground. And what I want to do here is just share a brief video with you about how we make some of this change in practice. I think it's a brilliant explanation that if you want to create the literate citizen of the future, we have to start in the young. We're going to take you to a very poor part of the UK, in the east of London, and listen to a scientific academic in the early years, and the Children's Laureate, who is our author advocate, who is an author called Frank Cottrell Boyce, best known for books like Millions, and he's also a film writer, and he's also an international bestseller. And this talks about the neuroscience of reading. And I'm hoping to stop it after 2 minutes so you don't get a lot of me, which you don't need, but I will see whether I can make that happen.
where we are going to speak to Professor Sam Watts about what happens inside a baby's brain when you read it a story.
Our brains and bodies naturally work through rhythms, so rhythms create stability, rhythms create meaning. And we know that as adults, our rhythms are fairly stable. And when we're reading to kids, we're creating strong and stable rhythms at lots of different timescales. Our children kind of latch onto these rhythms, and it helps their own rhythms, which are naturally messier, to become more stable, to become more predictable, to become more kind of adult-like. And we know that that helps them to be calm, and we know that that also helps their brains to learn to kind of make sense of these rhythms and to understand language.
So the scan is underway, and now we're looking at this. Is this like a visualization of the brain activity?
Yeah, so this is very specifically looking at how Ashley's and Mia's brain is becoming synchronized at this moment, where you can hear Ashley's actually reading to Mia at the moment, and you can see the two brains are superimposed on top of each other, which we've just done as a rough visualization of the fact that their brain rhythms are in synchrony.
Wow.
So what's happening is Ashley's speech is creating strong rhythms in her brain, and Mia's brain is tracking on, is latching onto these rhythms that Ashley's creating, and it's helping their brains to get into the same state at the same time.
So it's like a song and she's joining in?
It's a song and she's joining in, yeah, and they're both singing to the same beat, and it's all been driven by this shared language input.
It's been really great seeing the work today, because it's been really important for us at BookTrust to be able to show the neuroscience behind the work that we're doing and why early years reading really matters.
Yeah, so it's been really great being part of the Reading Rights campaign, really special for me, because so much kind of neuroscience is quite kind of abstruse and technical, and you know, to do something that actually feels like you're making a difference, it's been really, really fantastic for me.
I've always known that reading with a child was an enriching experience and a bonding.
Otherwise, I will go over time. And Frank is very powerful about the power and the enriching nature of reading. And if we talk outside this room, we are finding that talking about the way parents and babies align together when we read is a really powerful case for why reading matters and how it can help. I think our point is reading doesn't just deliver functional literacy. It transforms, it activates the neural networks that underpin emotional regulation and critical thinking. These aren't just academic capabilities, they're the foundations for connection, resilience, and lifelong learning. And the ripple effects are really profound. From language and well-being to creativity and equity, reading has the power to change children's lives if we begin early enough. And all of what I'm showing you is grounded in a wide-ranging review of evidence. It draws on hundreds of peer-reviewed studies across countries, age groups, and family contexts. Many of you here are presenting other research. We know that this is deeply founded in the science and the research. And if you want to look about what changes as we read with a child, you can see this pathway through of ages and stages. So when a child is very little, it's about foundational thinking skills, and it's about speech and language. As the child grows older, it moves more into what we might think about as language and literacy, and as understanding the world around us. And we've got good evidence about what changes and what doesn't. So how does shared reading, it's such a simple act, create such far-reaching outcomes? From pregnancy through the early years, reading together helps build the brain, and that matters for the context we're talking about resilience and critical thinking. Especially in the first 5 years, a child's brain grows more rapidly than at any other time, and it's a period of intense development, highly responsive to stimulation. Reading, talking, playing, and singing with a parent or carer strengthens the neural pathways for attention, memory, language, and self-regulation. And there's robust evidence that reading is a key driver of speech and language development. Among everyday activities, shared reading stands out for the quality of back and forth conversation it enables. Books expose children to rich, complex vocabulary, often beyond what they hear in casual conversation, and help them develop comprehension, print awareness, and oral fluency. And OEC data shows that children who are read to frequently at age 5 are more than half a school year ahead in reading by the age of 16. So if you come, the conversations this morning were about deep reading, about deep thinking, creating literate citizens. This is the beginning. This is what we need to set that up. And the education benefits go beyond reading skills. Early shared reading predicts stronger outcomes in grammar, numeracy, and general knowledge. Children who continue to read for pleasure into adolescence show higher achievement across the curriculum. But it's what's wonderful about reading is beyond the academics. It's about how children thrive emotionally. From the earliest years, shared reading helps children feel safe and secure by strengthening the bond with their parent or carer. This emotional connection supports reading and attachment, which lays the foundation for later well-being, confidence, and healthy relationships. What matters most isn't how well a parent reads, very important, but the emotional availability, the attention, and interaction in those shared moments. Research shows that shared reading can increase parental warmth, reduce stress, and support the kind of sensitive care that children need to thrive. And as children who grow, those who read for pleasure are more likely to self-regulate their emotions, adopt healthy behaviors, and have better interpersonal skills. You will find that anyone who talks about early years reading will talk for a long time, and I do not want Maria going, we're over time. So I'm going to skip a little bit and just talk a little bit about creativity. Shared reading not only supports how children learn, but how they feel, connect, and relate to the world together. And I think another colleague will speak to this in a moment. Stories offer a mirror and a mirror to reflect children's own experiences, and a window into other lives and perspectives. This helps nurture empathy, the ability to recognize and respond to others' emotions, including those from different backgrounds or circumstances. So not just my experience, but your experience as well. When children become emotionally involved in a story, they begin to connect their own feelings with those of the characters. This supports perspective taking and the development of theory of mind, which are essential for social understanding and compassion. Reading also sparks imagination and creativity. When children picture what might happen next, they imagine the world from a character's point of view. They practice flexible thinking and creative problem solving. Stories with magical or fantastical elements, Harry Potter, can be especially powerful in helping children play with ideas, question assumptions, and express themselves. Question assumptions. And the data reflects this too. Children read to at age 3 show greater progress in creative development by the time they start school. And in a world shaped by uncertainty and change, these qualities matter more than ever. Reading helps children not just to succeed, but to flourish as thinkers, as citizens, and creative human beings. I'm not going to pause on the next slides, but if you want to find out more about how you get parents to read with their children in a supportive way, we can talk about it for a very long time, or look at the EURead network, or the global network, or BookTrust along the way, because there is also lots of science about persuading rather than patronizing. But there's lots here. It's fun. And it makes a difference. And did I say it makes a lot of difference? You really can get people to read more if you ask them. But I think if I was going to conclude and give you a message to take away, I hope in the last few minutes I've been trying to show you how in a democracy, perspective, such as a simple activity, such as reading with your child, might be worth a proper look. And the earlier we start, the difference we make. Or to put it another way, this clever thing, a book, can open up a world of possibilities. I was just thinking, looking at my script a bit earlier on, that Frank was in the north of England, again in a very poor part of the UK. And he was with a group of mothers talking about reading, and he was learning. And then the brave one put up her hand and said, "I don't read very well. How can I do this?" Well, if you look at Dear Zoo, and this may not be popular in Poland, but it's basically one sentence with lots of different animals. The key sentence is, I wrote to the zoo to send me a pet. If you can learn that, you can read this book, because you can work out it's a giraffe, and you can work out it's a lion, and you can get to the end, and you can create the habit of reading. It's about giving families the tools for connection. It's a positive message of hope, and then we will get them reading. Thank you very much.